a matter of how much counting you'll do.
Video feed isn't working, so no online anything. So back to the old days.
Back to the old days, okay. All right, here we are. Thank you for attending tonight's Hubbard County Planning Commission Board of Adjustment for Monday, January 27th, 2025. I will begin this meeting reading the meeting procedure. All persons in attendance at the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, the PCBOA meetings, are expected to comply with the following meeting procedure. Thank you in advance for helping make this a manageable meeting. Copies of agenda item materials are available for public viewing on the table located at the back of the meeting room. These materials are not to leave the table so that others in attendance may also view them. Please turn your phones to vibrate or off during the meeting and conduct any sidebar conversations outside of the meeting room. Interruption or other interference with the orderly conduct of the PCBOA meeting will not be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. Disruptive persons will be removed from the meeting. The chair may terminate speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. Written material concerning agenda items must be submitted to the Environmental Services Department by 3:30 p.m. on the Wednesday immediately prior to the meeting date. Written materials will not be accepted after this deadline or at the meeting because the PCBOA will not have sufficient time to review them prior to the meeting. Such material must state the agenda item for which it is being submitted and the name and address of the submitting party. Planning Commission business is conducted first, followed by the Board of Adjustment business. The chair will call the meeting to order and explain the meeting procedure. The chair will read each agenda item into the record and ask the applicants to come forward to the presenter's table, state his or her name, address for the record, and explain his, her, or their request. The PCBOA will then discuss the agenda item with the applicant. The chair will then ask for public comment on the agenda item, and to facilitate an orderly, efficient meeting, there is a 3-minute speaking time limit per speaker per agenda item unless the chair allows the speaker additional time. The chair may terminate the speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. When the chair recognizes the speaker, he or she may approach the audience podium and microphone, state his or her full name and address for the record, and write such on the speaker log, and then share his or her comments. The audience podium microphone must be used by the recognized speaker because the meeting is recorded. A member of the public may not donate his or her speaking time to another speaker. A speaker should state his or her comments and address the issue, not the applicant's. All comments are to be directed towards the PCBOA. Please do not repeat comments already made by previous speakers. The chair reserves the right to ask a group with similar comments to appoint a spokesperson. If written comments have been submitted to the PCBOA, please do not read them aloud during the meeting as they are already part of the record and copies thereof have been given to the PCBOA. After everyone wanting to speak on an agenda item has done so, the chair will close the public comment period on the agenda item, and no further public comment will be taken after this point. The chair will give the applicant an opportunity to address issues raised during public comment. The PCBOA will then continue its discussion on the agenda item, and the chair will entertain a motion on it. The PCBOA may make a motion to pass, deny, or table the item. Once a motion is made and seconded, the PCBOA will develop findings of facts for conditional use permit and variance applications, and then vote on the motion. Once a vote is taken on an agenda item, the PCBOA will move on to the next agenda item. Meetings commence at 6 p.m. and continue until all agenda items have been heard or until 10 p.m. No new agenda items shall be considered after 9:45 p.m. The PCBOA may, at its discretion, continue an item that is on the floor at 10 p.m. Any remaining agenda items shall be continued to another time or day, preferably immediately following Tuesday at 6 p.m. And no further public notice will be provided for such a meeting continuation. The PCBOA, through the chair, may modify these procedures prior to a meeting or an agenda item. Okay. All right, the first item of the night will be the election of the officers for the 2025 year. Do we have a nomination for chair? Well, this is Veronica. I will nominate Mike for chair.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by myself for Mike and a second for the motion by Ken. Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
It's Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. Motion has carried 4-0. Would you like me to continue the election, or would you?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead on with the nomination for vice chair. Anybody care to have a nomination?
This is Larry. I nominate Veronica.
Anybody have a second?
It's Mike, I'll second.
Okay. Nomination for vice chair, Veronica, made by Larry. Mike seconded the motion for nomination. Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. And nomination for secretary.
This is Mike, I'll nominate Larry.
Okay. Thank you. We have a nomination of Larry for secretary.
It's Ken, I'll second.
Okay. Ken seconded the motion. Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
It's Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. We have Larry for secretary. Okay, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to Mike.
Thank you. First on the agenda is the Planning Commission approval of minutes from the December 16th, 2024 meeting.
Fill me in later.
Okay, this is Veronica. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. This is Ken.
We have a motion by Veronica, a second by Ken to approve the December 16th, 2024 meeting minutes. Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Veronica?
I vote aye.
Larry?
This is Larry. I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. The minutes are approved. No old or new business, so we'll move on to the Board of Adjustment approval of minutes of the December 16th, 2024 meeting.
This is Ken. I make a motion to approve the Board of Adjustment minutes from the December 16th, 2024 meeting.
This is Larry. I second it.
We have a motion by Ken, a second by Larry to approve the December 16th, 2024 meeting minutes. Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Veronica?
I vote aye.
Larry?
Larry, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. The minutes are approved. No old business, we'll move on to new business. Variance application 67-V-24 by Gary and Janet York, lots 1 and 2, Block B, South Addition to Pine Haven Beach, Section 17, Township 139, Range 34, Hubbard Township on Long Lake, a recreational development lake. Parcels 14.38.60700 and 14.38.60800. Applicants are requesting a variance from section 502.2 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance from the 100-foot ordinary high water mark and the 10-foot side lot line structure setbacks for a proposed detached garage. Do we have a representative present? If you'd come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Richard Beasley. Address is 13224 Beach Haven Road in Park Rapids. And yeah, the request is to build a two-car garage, and variance that we are seeking is that 5022 that was just mentioned. The reason we are requesting the zero setback on the north side is that that's the only place we have to build a garage in that property. That does leave us, well within the impervious surface, requirement, or threshold under that to do that. And so even given the small lot size, we would not exceed that. We did follow through, the board's suggestion last year when we tried to do this project prior, and it was denied with a guest cottage above. But we sought vacation of that public road, and that was denied in the 9th Judicial Court District. I noticed that in the staff report, that information was not there, and I did not support that. But basically, the reason we received that is the judge and the presiding in that case just indicated that Grandview Road was dedicated in the original plot for the public use forever, keyword being forever. And so they did not grant us that. What's to note on that Grandview Road to the north of our property is it's on an extremely steep bluff. It's not in any way usable, never has been used. In the 64 years my family's been coming up here, we've never seen anyone use it, and quite honestly, it'd be treacherous to try and use that just because of the steep bluff and nasty terrain. So asking to build a garage there certainly wouldn't impede on anyone, their ability to see the lake, use that access, any of that. But that's the basic concept of what we're trying to do. I won't reread everything as the instructions asked that we have already submitted, but what other information would be helpful, or any questions do you have for me that would clarify what we're trying to do?
Any questions or comments from the board at this time?
Yeah, this Ken, and I was not at the viewals, unfortunately, so I have a few questions. Somewhere in the documentation, there was some concern that the driveway, based on the site plan that was in the package, the driveway would be over your drain field?
No, we replaced the septic system in last summer. No, it's actually on the very, very far south end of that property now.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, the drive, the approach to that garage, while we wouldn't do any impervious surface, yeah, it would be on the far north side of the property. So yeah, it's
So that's not an issue then?
Correct.
The court denial of your vacation request, were you at the hearing?
I was, yes.
Did you make any good arguments for it?
I did, yeah. And I actually thought things were leaning our direction. I think that the verbiage, the word forever, why that was plotted that way, was the hang-up point based on that. And I can submit that letter, the response, if that's helpful.
I've seen the letter. I've been
Yeah.
through that with a set of property.
Well,
and
the court letter that I received, the denial, but no, it was much more verbiage than that. That's the easy understanding I took was, yeah, it was just dedicated, or it was plotted that way to be public use forever, even though it's unusable land for the public. You just can't, no human's going to walk down that slope.
I think for the record, it seems that the argument made by the Lake Association or whomever, and the court decision would imply that road access, if you will never be developed. So therefore, building right up to the property line should never have any impact, any future
I agree.
building or structure or ownership or anything like that, so.
Yes, sir, I agree. I wouldn't want to impede anyone. I mean, if I were doing something that was just going to make people angry at me, I don't want to be in that situation. But no, this, based on the 64-year history my family's been up here, yeah, we are asking to do nothing that's going to inhibit anyone's use of that in any way.
I guess the third question I have, you own property across the road too from?
No longer. So it used to be, yes, 2 lots on the east side of Beach Haven, 2 on the west. So it is cousins. And so I married into the York family. Gary York is my father-in-law. His brother, Max, when their father died, they divided that property.
Oh,
So we have cousins across the street. No, I am not part ownership of that property on the west side of the
okay,
street.
so that's not a building option for you?
No, it's not. We've asked about that, and they have plans on their own, and that's okay.
Okay,
This is Larry. I noticed that the new well is right behind where the garage is going. If you ever need to service that well, what's your plan to get at that?
There'll be about 10 feet in between the garage and the existing cabin.
So
You get a mini skid in there.
you can sneak in there, okay?
Mr. Chair, this is Veronica speaking. I have a couple of questions. What is the height of the proposed structure? Is it the same as the previous?
No, it's not. It's 22 feet, I believe. No, it's,
And what was the height of the last one back last year?
would have been about 20, I'm guessing here. Now I am in the building business, so it would have been about 27 and a half feet. On the guest cottage, we were trying to do some finished living space above. That was I think that was the biggest issue we left here with that. And we were doing a driveway at the time, and it was attached. So we did exceed that impervious surface of 25% also.
Right, okay, so 22 feet. So do you have a second story planned then in this garage?
No, it'll just be storage. I mean, more than anything, we want storage for the small cabin we're in. We just have no storage.
Right, but so you're not going to have a second level?
Yes, there would be a loft. It would be an attic. And so, yeah, I'm gonna try to do the roof pitch enough so that you can get up there and store some stuff, some seasonal, excuse me, some seasonal stuff up there. And quite honestly, just lots of things up there that we can't really fit in the cabin.
I missed, you said the height was 22 feet total?
Yeah, that might not be right.
That
I
seems
think I did
awful
see that
steep.
somewhere.
I didn't find it anywhere, so.
If you had like a 6/12 pitch, something like maybe 17, 18 feet would
Yeah,
make more sense.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's gonna be 19.8, 19.10, potentially. I mean, I had it drawn with a 12-12 pitch, just so I could get, an 8-foot room down the center for storage, and a ladder going up and an attic space for storage.
Okay. Once again, what height?
I think it's important that we identify what we are approving here, so the dimensions are 32 by 22, and we're looking for the height then.
Mr. Chair, Eric speaking. In the application, there was a scaled side profile sketch provided of the proposed garage, and when you scale that out, it came to 22 feet.
It was 22.
Or did I not see that?
It doesn't give that
It doesn't give it exactly, it just
Not
said,
labeled, but
it
when
just
you
said
scale
one
it,
quarter, the scale there.
It's just a scaled sketch.
So they came out with 22.
You're okay with 22 feet though, so we're not
They
going
just
to
did the
exceed
scale
that amount.
calculations.
No,
Okay.
yes, yeah, it allows me headspace to be able to stand up there as I'm storing stuff and not run into anything, hopefully.
Be a 6/12 pitch, and 7 added to 10 would be about 17 or 18 feet.
It'd be helpful to pass this sketch around.
It's okay, I have it, thank you.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't have a dimension on the roof part.
I apologize, I didn't know you'd want that specific detail, I just had scaled it out, and
I just look at it, 6/12 pitch is a pretty steep pitch. And you look at, you're 28 feet wide, half of that is 14, so 7 feet would be a 6/12, 7 added to 10 would be like 17 feet.
I just wouldn't be able to stand up in that attic and, as I'm carrying and storing stuff up there.
You c-
Well, yeah, I guess it would be 8
can't
foot at maybe 5.5 foot center. It would just be a narrow tunnel of storage.
Okay. I just have one more question. Do you plan on having any kind of apron on that front entrance?
No.
Okay.
No, we've parked on that grass and sand for the life that I've been coming up here, and I mean, the soils, it never gets muddy. It's hard enough that it doesn't it doesn't create a problem parking, and it's sand enough that it certainly absorbs the water quickly when we have rain.
And one more quick question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I just have one more question on the septic. I know you have new septic installed. Is there still an alternate site or no?
It would need to be across the street on the cousin's property.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had that discussion with them, so we need to run on the south side of their existing cabin. What, horizontal bore under Beach Haven Road.
No further questions from me.
At this time, I'll open for public comment. Seeing none, close public comment. Any other questions or comments from the board?
This is Veronica speaking. You also stated in your application that you were, if this gets approved, you would be removing the storage shed?
Correct, yes.
Your purpose of the size of the garage, the 28 by 32, is for one car, two cars?
Be 2 cars and a boat. I would just love to have a place to store dry goods in there, rather than be exposed outside. We've had that shed broken into twice in the past few years. A garage would be a little more secure storage option for us. Just tired of losing fishing gear.
This is Mike. This, to me, looks like a reasonable request from what we had asked back in a year ago, I believe it was. One condition, actually, I would have 2 conditions that I would put on this if we were to approve it, and one of them would be that the detached garage cannot be used as a living space or a dwelling unit now or forever in the future.
Correct. With that, let me ask this. If we put a game room up there and not a dwelling space, but if I put a ping pong table, would that be okay or no?
As long as it's not a living space,
Okay.
is what the ordinance addresses.
Sure.
And so,
And
no
that's-
beds, no sinks, no bathrooms, no cots.
Right. Yeah, we won't heat it or anything. We're not gonna, that's not what it's for.
And Mr. Chair, what would your second condition be?
The second would be that the shed is removed.
Yeah, we'd love to get rid of that.
Mike, is it possible we should add that the garage needs to be built at the location and of the size outlined in the site plan?
We can certainly state that.
As opposed to it being approved and me changing that?
What?
As opposed to you guys approving it and me changing the site plan or the site?
No.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any,
You gotta build it where you said you were gonna build it.
Right,
To
yeah,
the
I-
side you said
right,
you
yeah,
were gonna
that's-
build it.
I
With
thought we
the
had
height.
determined
And the
that already.
location.
Okay. Okay, yep, that's the plan.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Anyone ready to make a motion?
This is Veronica. I'm prepared for a motion if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Okay, make a motion that we approve the variance application 67-V-24 as per site plan with the 28 by 32 by a height of no more than 22 feet in the location as presented in the site plan with the 2 conditions: to prohibit any portion of the detached garage being used as living space or as dwelling unit. And number 2, the existing storage shed must be removed when the land use permit is obtained for the detached garage. And then I would adopt, I have findings of facts for number 1, says Is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? Yes. Placing a condition that no living quarters are allowed in the proposed garage and removing the existing storage shed is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls. Number 2, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control? Yes, having a detached garage is a reasonable request, and I would adopt the staff's 3, 4, and 5.
This is Larry, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Veronica, a second by Larry to approve the variance application 27-V-24 with conditions that it built as per site plans, location and size, 28 by 32 and no more than 22 feet high. It not be used as living space or dwelling, and that the storage shed be removed. Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
This is Veronica, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. Motion carries, the variance is approved.
Thank you. Do I need to sign in something?
Nope.
That it for me?
You are done, thank you so much.
Have a great evening.
Next on the agenda is variance application 68-V-24 by EBSB Holdings LLC, part of Government Lot 1, Section 13, Township 140, Range 33, and part of Government Lot 6, Section 12, Township 140, Range 33, Nevis Township on 8th Crow Wing Lake, a recreational development lake, parcels 21.12.01000, 21.13.00920, 21.13.01000, 21.13.01100, 21.13.01200, and 21.13.01300. Applicants are requesting Part 1 and after the fact variance from Section 701 of the Shoreline Management Ordinance for expansion of a non-conforming use onto additional property on which the non-conforming use did not occur when the use became a legal non-conforming use. Part 2 and after the fact variance from Section 701 of the SMO for the creation of a new structures devoted to a non-conforming use where none previously existed, and structural alterations, expansions, and additions to structures devoted to a non-conforming use. Part 3 and after the fact variance from Section 502.2, 701, and 702 of the Shoreline Management Ordinance for a deck added to a non-conforming structure devoted to a non-conforming use that does not meet the 50-foot road right-of-way structural setback and made the structure's road right-of-way setback more non-conforming. Part 4, a variance from Section 701 of the Shoreline Management Ordinance for the creation of a new structure devoted to a non-conforming use where none previously existed. And Part 5, a variance from Section 502.2, 701, and 702 of the Shoreline Management Ordinance for a proposed deck on a non-conforming structure devoted to a non-conforming use that will not meet the 50-foot road right-of-way structure setback and make the structure's road right-of-way setback more non-conforming. Ask the applicants to come forward. Seeing no one present, how would you like to proceed?
This is Veronica speaking. I don't mind going forward. It seems to be everything that we saw and everything in the application seems pretty clear.
This is Mike, I would agree. It seems that other than it's an after the fact, a whole lot of after the fact, if these were presented to us as a variance, I think we would have favorably looked upon them since this is a business resort setting and everything that is being asked for is consistent with what a resort or this type of business would offer.
This is Ken, you know, I obviously was not at the Vuels. Obviously, the question I would have is the Bear's Den cabin is only 23 feet from the 50-foot right-of-way. It's getting close, and I know the cabin's already in the 50 feet, and there's already a concrete walkway and stuff. Does the new deck that they're proposing as that part push farther towards the right-of-way, or is it about the same as what's there now? Can you,
This is Mike. It pushes closer to the right-of-way, but it's consistent with the cabin that is next to it to the east. And there does appear to be, as I recall, enough mature trees between where this cabin and deck will be, or the deck would be added to the cabin and the road, that from a safety standpoint, I think there's not any safety concerns here.
okay, so that cabin, what was it, 5 or something, or 7 that's next to it, has a deck that's already out that far, okay.
And this is Veronica speaking, if I so, Mr. Chair. Also, this County 33 running through this property is 30-mile-per-hour zone, which if it was more of a township road, it would be, the setback would be less. It wouldn't be the 50-foot, it'd only be a 20-foot right-of-way setback. So being it's only 30 miles per hour, that does kind of help with that safety aspect as well. Not that everybody drives 30, but they're supposed to. So, and I agree with Mike, the tree coverage there is going to help.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but back in about 2005 or so, there was a push to rebuild 33 to go to the south and get away from that problem, which obviously has gotten worse. So it's kind of like the round fishhook, but so didn't fly.
At this time, I'm going to open for public comment. Seeing none, I will close public comment.
Mr. Chair, how would you like to move forward with these on, as far as grouping them together and findings of facts and such?
I would be okay with grouping it together, as far as maybe doing all of the after-the-fact variances first, and then doing the variance, which is for the deck, the removal of the steps in the deck, and then the concrete pad for the generator. But I'd also be okay, since it's all such similar resort uses, of doing it all at once too.
I believe, this is Veronica speaking, that we might be able to do part 3, since it's part of a deck, even though it's after the fact, and part 5 together, because they're both decks and they're both with the County 33 right-of-way. Part 3 does, is included in that part 2 part with the, I do believe. With that L-shaped deck on cabin 8, but
Yep.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Well, part three picks up on the deck. That's number 5
and part 2,
in part 2.
yeah.
So you could lump all those 3 together as after the fact ones, right?
Go ahead, Eric.
Eric speaking, if the board's looking at all of these favorably, that it would be a motion to approve everything requested. Just given the complexity, my thought would be to just do one motion, one set of findings, and do your best in the findings to
Cover the whole.
speak to everything. Because if we do it part by part, my concern would be that it'd be easy for a gap to develop, not intentionally, but I'd hate for that to be identified later and then we'd have to circle back.
Better. Perfect.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And You know,
Everything's okay?
you answered the questions that I would have had with the fuel, and you're okay, so I'm supportive of the whole package.
Yeah, and this is Veronica. Ken mentioned he's supportive, and this is Veronica speaking. I'm supportive as well. I wish that some of these, like you mentioned earlier, they'd gone through the right direction and proper steps to getting some of these after the fact, since they are well aware and have purchased permits in the past. Unfortunately, they're not here for, oh, maybe they are here now, but, yeah.
Welcome. Yes, you are. We are discussing your case. If you would come forward and sit at the front table, and we start at 6. Oh, that was a typo, then I apologize for that. Go ahead and state your names and addresses for the record, and then once you've done that, we'll kind of give you where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Very sorry about that. I don't know my letter would said 7.
It says 6, I just checked.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can move on. You're here, thankfully.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, we're glad you're here.
oh, now we're off to a great start. Hi, my name is Ed Becker, and this is my wife, Sarah.
And your address for the record.
27385 County Road 33.
The board has been discussing this, and we're to the point where we feel that the request, other than the fact that it's after the fact request is the bulk of what we're dealing with here, we're looking favorably, it appears, upon this application, because the request is for typical uses of this type of property or resort business. And what we see here is typical uses. And if, in fact, that these had been come to us all as variance applications rather than after the fact, I believe this board would have looked favorably upon them. I think our biggest concern here is, and I'll ask the question, why have we gone this long in this number of items that have become after the fact?
That's a great question. I wish I had a super great answer, but sitting here, I know I don't have a real great answer for that. Some of the items were small and significant enough. In all honesty, I weren't sure that it would need one. For example, the item that talks about the shed, was it a 17 by 20 or something, the storage shed, the one of them, and that was a shed that we picked up from a different area on the property and relocated it. I didn't realize that would take a permit, and that's the honest truth. The larger shed for the storage for the needs of the resort was kind of that Johnny Cash song. I think I shared my thoughts on that before, where it started out each year we'd wind up with $4,000 or $5,000, and we didn't have anywhere to put it. And then when the land was purchased from the Durgans in about 2006, that gave us a space that it would work in. And moving forward, whenever we had a few extra dollars, we'd buy some posts, and then next year we'd buy some rafters, and it took like 6 years to build that. That's not an excuse or a good excuse, but that's kind of how that happened. And somewhere along the line, we didn't go back and get an actual permit.
Okay, thank you.
The deck out on cabin 8 was one of those that was acquired with that same land where the shed sits. And in 2019, Sarah was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so we were going through that, and our church came out and said, "What can we do to help you? What can we do?" And that was one of the things that we needed to kind of look at getting done. And again, we probably should have came and visited with Eric prior to that, but it was such a request, and I had all the workers there, and it was kind of, let's do this now today, because I've got everybody here. And I'm like, okay, I accept, because we were just swamped. Again, no good excuse for not coming to get permission.
Thank you. What I would advise in my limited role is that in the future, you do refamiliarize yourself with the shoreline management ordinance and the fact that the entire operation is a non-conforming use, which means virtually everything has the potential for needing a variance or a permit, and to check first and ask permission first rather than after the fact. But with that, we've discussed this here. I think where we're at is we've decided as a group that the best way is to handle it all as one request and not break it down and do one findings of fact for the request. Is anyone prepared to make a motion at this time?
Looks like they're holding it against us for being late. We got to look at our letters a little closer from now on.
No, it's a matter of coming up with the findings of
Right,
fact.
yeah.
Are you prepared there, young lady?
I have preparations for parts 3 and 5, but not the entire parts. But I'm sure we could go with, you know, some of the other stuff. Some of it will cover a lot of it because it's, most of the items are past the setback, the 100-foot setback. So it'll just be the expansions. I can, as we go through them, I can start with this and approving, and then we can add anything that we'd like to the findings of facts if it would be helpful. Okay. All right, this is Veronica. I make a motion to approve the variance application 68-V-24 for all parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We will go through the findings of facts together and address some of these for some supporting statements. Is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? I'm going to say yes. Number 1, for the decks on County 33, the speed limit on County 33 through this property is 30 miles per hour, and the 50-foot county road right-of-way structure setback requirement is meant to address situations involving the county road for which the posted speed limit is typically 55 miles per hour or greater. With that 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on County 33 running through the property, the proposed right-of-way setbacks for the decks are reasonable. And the road causes it to operate more like a township road instead of that other road with a 20-foot road setback. So those with the setback at 37 feet for the cabin 8 and 23 feet for the bear's den, that would be covered. Also for that, I think we could do, in harmony of the general purposes and content, or official controls, I mean, that all of the other items, the basketball court, the pickleball court, the L-shaped platform, all the other structures are within, are past the ordinary high water mark setback. Any other additions to that?
I think that covers it.
Any other additions to that?
No.
Okay. Number 2, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control? Yes. The decks on the cabins located on County Road 33 are a reasonable use, and everybody wants to have a lakeside deck on the rental cabins. And again, the items, the after-the-fact items listed, the pickleball court, the storage building, the accessory structures, they're all reasonable uses for a resort use.
Generator pad and the expansion, I think we should include that sound. And
Correct.
the expansion of the purchase
extra
of the Bears
parcels.
Den and Lude thing is a reasonable activity.
Correct. And expanding in those 2 additional parcels.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's see. Number 3 is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current or prior property owners. Well, the unique part of the property would be that County Road 33 runs through the property, and the ordinary high watermark setback of 100 feet from 8th Crow Wing Lake. Most of these items are passed beyond the setback. And the other 2 decks we've already addressed. And
I made it under the circumstances, since it's a non-conforming structure, there are
predates.
Non-conforming use.
that needs approval for everything, that's, I'll call it unique. All the resorts have it, but it's still unique.
Yes. And number 4, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character and locality? Yes. The locality consists of 2 large resort properties with seasonal and year-round residential lots located around the resorts. Lakeside decks and common accessory features on the resort cabins are reasonable and maintain the essential character, along with the pickleball courts, the additional storage sheds, the same with the extra structures that you have on the property, and that stamped concrete pavement area, that walkway. And number 5, does the stated practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Yes, the economics are not cited in the application as a practical difficulty. Is there anything that we missed on any of those that we should add, make sure we covered?
No, I think we brought up the additional 2 cabin, the expansion, all the recreational things, and
The
the
extra
key
cost.
thing that was concerned is the setback. I think you've covered them all.
Yep, I believe so. Okay, we have a motion by Veronica. Do we have a second?
This is Larry, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Veronica and a second by Larry to approve variance application 68-V-24. We have listed findings of fact for all of the above, and with that, Ken, how do you vote?
It says Ken, I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
This is Veronica, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. Motion carries. The variance application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Again, very apologetic and sorry for being late. I don't know why we.
You made it in time.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Maybe I don't need to talk now, but, so then we have to come back in and get permits from you at your desk at some point in time in the next 30 days?
Good, yeah, there's no, you got 5 years from the time the variance is awarded to act on it. But because of the violations, yes, if you can make quick work of getting the permits, that'd be great.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. And now, are there any miscellaneous or communications to cover?
All I have would be in regard to what February's agenda will look like. We'll have conditional use permit and a variance application, and then stemming back from roughly a year ago, we had both a variance application and a conditional use permit application that had been put on indefinite time extensions for the proposed restaurant on Beltane. And that will be coming back for action just to get it done, because they've not been in contact with us. They've not supplied any of the requested information. They've not responded to a letter I sent them a couple months ago telling them that if they don't get everything in, we're gonna put it on the agenda for action just to clear the book, so to speak. So that's what February's meeting will look like.
Thank you, Eric. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion.
This is Larry, I move to adjourn.
This is Ken, I second.
Motion by Larry, a second by Ken to adjourn. Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
Veronica, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
What
Michael.
the secretary is that both the chair and vice chair are gone, you're it.
Okay. Live with those odds.
Now we get to go through all the 2023 stuff.
Oh, right, is it?